Live from the Spill Studios, located behind a liquor store off the I-35 interchange, it's time once again for a couple of cold ones with Corey and Carlisle.
That's me.
That's you.
I'm Corey.
And me.
And you're
Hi, Corey.
Carlisle.
I'm Carlisle.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Corey. Now, how's it going, man?
It's not as well as it's going for you, apparently.
What do you mean not as well as it's going for me? Is there something wrong? Go ahead and tell your Uncle Corey what's wrong.
Oh, no. You're like at the Cochise Festival or something like
Cochise.
that? The Coat Check Festival? What is this thing?
I'm at the Cut Cheese Festival. People
The cut cheese.
Yeah, people just
Qui a coupé la fromage?
Oui.
Has cut the cheese.
Yeah, people got their asses all up in there and farting in unison. No, I am at Coachella, and for people who don't know what Coachella is, I am in Indio, California, which is about an hour and a half outside of LA. I'm actually back from that. I'm in LA right now at a buddy's house, but I was at the music festival there, and I stayed all weekend. And La Quinta has a city of their own. You know the La Quinta Hotel?
Yeah.
I went to La Quinta, the city. They have a small city out in the desert, and they have a resort out there where people go every now and then. They even have condos there, and we stayed there and went out to the festival. And the Coachella Festival is an eclectic mix of music, like many festivals, but this one is really considered to be cutting edge with a lot of hip hop, indie rock. And I went to go see Gorillaz. They played Sunday night, which was last night for me. You know how much I love that band, and
That's why I didn't give you any flack, because I was like all ready to record, and I go, hey, when you're ready to record, and you're like, oh, hey man, I'm kind of at the Gorillaz concert right now. Can we record tomorrow? And I was like, you know what? It's the Gorillaz. For any other band, I may have given you flack, but you have been passionate about the Gorillaz like long before anybody knew who the Gorillaz were.
Even when the first album came out, I was trying to get people into that album, and I was telling them, I was like, yeah, you got to listen to this album. I never told them what the concept was, that it was an animated band behind the music, because the first time I did that, somebody made fun of me about it. Oh, it's like the Archies, get the fuck out of here. Like, oh, MC Scat Cat, nobody wants to hear that shit. And I just said, all right.
If I remember correctly, you had like downloaded the album before it was out, and you immediately went out and like bought the album as soon as the day it came out. But you like had the tracks beforehand, because we were listening to back when we used to do our cable access show. You had background music, and we're like, this is funky. What is this? And you're like, oh, this is this album that's coming out. You'll dig it. And,
yeah.
And you're like playing the Gorillaz before anybody knew who the Gorillaz were. And that was the one thing that you've done that was like so super impressive that it's like, holy shit, this guy had a bead on this band that nobody fucking knew.
The thing is, I don't know what happened, because this is early on. I got to download this album, and it was like the first Gorillaz album, and nobody had heard of it. And I listened to it, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't even know what the band was. To see, everybody thinks I like the band because it's like an animated cartoon behind the band. I didn't know that concept. I just remember I love music. If I could do a music podcast, I would do it, and I could go for like hours talking about music. And I really love bands that go out and combine all different kinds of music into like one album, because I love all kinds of music, and that's what that album did. And I never thought it would be successful, so I was just like, okay, this is just something that me and my like snobby music friends will enjoy. But then they blew up, and I was like, hey, you know what? If I ever get the chance to go see them at a really cool place, I will go. And here they played Coachella for their latest album, and I missed the last thing that they did in New York and London for the album Demon Days. I was like, well, fuck it, I'm not missing this. I'm at the busiest time of my life ever, and I had to take like a couple of days off to go see this. I had to apologize to everyone, so including you. I didn't mean to keep you waiting.
Well, no. I seriously, were it any other band, I would have given you some flack. But the Gorillaz, the Gorillaz to you is like Soul Coughing to me. Like Soul Coughing is just that band that I will drop anything and go see, which they're not around. It's just Mike Doughty. But every time Mike Doughty comes to town, I go and I see Mike Doughty because he's just fucking awesome. And
yeah, I remember like hanging out with you at ACL. Was it ACL? Yeah, and you were like, man, I gotta see Soul Coughing. That's what I'm here for. I gotta see that. And I was like, wow, okay.
Oh, it was Mike Doughty that was there for ACL, but yeah, because they had broken up by then. I did get to see Soul Coughing perform though back in the day.
See, I love Soul Coughing. They did that song, "Move Aside and Let the Man Come Through." The man come through. I used to love that song.
Super Bon Bon.
Oh man, yeah. No, I that's a good band, man. See, you already can tell. I love all kinds of music. I used to love that band, man. Not as much as you do, of course.
No, well, that's it. It's that and Squirrel Nut Zippers are like my two favorite bands of all time.
Okay,
So.
you can keep that other shit right there.
You don't like the Squirrel Nut Zippers?
No. I was never into that whole. There was a couple of things I was never into. There was a phase where people were doing a lot of swing dancing, and there was a phase where people were doing a lot of I don't know, like Django Reinhardt type music from the 30s. And
well, that was a really weird hip time. Like grunge had just died, and bubblegum pop hadn't taken over yet. And in 1996 and 97, nobody knew what the next big thing was, so they were gambling on everything. So if you listened to what was considered alternative at the time, you were listening to the Prodigy's "Fat of the Land." You were listening to what was why can I not think of their band, the name of that band right now? The ska band that what's her name? Gwen Stefani was head of.
Geez, we were just talking about that today too.
The name of that band just eluded me, but there was a lot of ska on the radio. Squirrel Nut Zippers blew up big. And they were betting on everything, just all sorts of weird indie rock bands. This really cool band named Space came out of nowhere with Female of the Species, and music was just weird and really cool for 2 years. And then Creed happened. And the minute Creed happened and Britney Spears happened, everything was over. And the music, as you kids know it, all of a sudden dominated the airwaves.
I keep thinking that song, I'm walking on the spider webs.
Oh, yeah.
God damn it. No Doubt is the name of that band.
No Doubt, yes. Yeah. One of my wife's favorite bands. She's the one who introduced me to No Doubt. But
see, I didn't mind that. I didn't mind I didn't mind the ska thing so much because they had some bands that were doing it and they would combine it with other things like punk. Like they had that band Rancid. You remember that band?
Oh yeah. Rancid's been around a long time.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, the ska thing is cool, but there seemed a period where you're right. Like we were going through that transitional phase of one type of music going into another, and it seems like nobody knew what to do, so they were grasping onto things as a novelty, like from periods way back. And I don't know. It was just
that's my favorite period of music ever because it was just for some reason just how eclectic everything was, and there was so much good stuff. And I love Squirrel Nut Zippers. What are you gonna do?
So you were into the whole rockabilly thing too, then?
Well, I was into literally. I'm very eclectic when it comes to music. Anyway, I listen to a lot of crap as well. I mean, as is well known. Ask Cyrus about my music taste sometime. He will bury his head in his hands, and at least he gives me credit for acknowledging that I like crap. But I really like crap, and so I'll listen to like super crappy music if it's got a good beat to it. But I'm really eclectic with what I listen to, and so for me, the idea of listening to a radio station that's going to play some hip hop and then go into some club music and then play some ska and then some swing and then go back again is totally cool with me. So
well, I wouldn't dare give you shit for liking what a lot of people consider crap because that just means you like a lot of music, and I appreciate that because again, I don't want to sit up here and brag on myself for my taste in music because some people think it's really bad just because I like a lot of things. But if you have a broad taste in music, you're gonna like something that a lot of people consider to be bad music. You're gonna like some pop song that everybody says if you're cool, you should listen to that. I myself, one of the things I can tell you, like that Miley Cyrus movie that just came out, the last song.
Yeah.
Look, movie's bad. I didn't love the movie. I would not recommend that movie to anybody. But a little secret between you and me, my man, Carl. Now, don't tell anybody this.
I won't tell anybody. I promise.
Okay,
we won't put this on the internet.
No, okay, please don't. I don't want to expose myself. But I went home and downloaded a song from the last song soundtrack because I thought it was cool. Now, don't tell anybody. That's just
I won't because that means you're listening to some Miley Cyrus.
But it wasn't a Miley Cyrus song. That's the thing. No, there was no Miley Cyrus song on the sound. Well, no, I'm sorry. In the movie, there was not. There was a couple of Miley Cyrus songs on the soundtrack, but a lot of it was kind of like this cool indie pop type music, and I was like.
But was Miley Cyrus singing it?
No, it was not a Miley Cyrus song at all. It was, in fact,
okay.
the band probably didn't even know that their song was on the Miley Cyrus soundtrack until the movie came out. Like, what the fuck? And the manager was like, hey, it's good for you. Put it on the soundtrack. It's okay. You need some exposure. But I was like, I don't know why this song is in a Miley Cyrus movie except for Miley Cyrus trying to grow up now. But yeah, I thought it was a cool song. And I was like, fuck it. You know what? I like the song. I don't care if Miley Cyrus is associated with it. I'm going to download it. Fuck the disbelievers out there and the haters. I don't give a damn what you think.
Hey, you can you can rightfully hang out with Leon and listen to the same music he does.
Isn't it funny how when we talk about a Miley Cyrus movie or a Jonas Brothers movie, Leon is the authority. He can tell you everything.
The man loves his Radio Disney. And the weird thing is he's not alone. Like I have a friend who's a director out in LA, and he was making comments about complaining about the fact that Radio Disney plays the hell out of Skater Boy. And they're like, what is this, what is this, the year 2000? It's not 10 years ago. Why are you playing Skater Boy? And my answer is, the fuck are you listening to Radio Disney? You're driving it in your listening to it in your rape van with the windows down, throwing candy at the kids. Come on, kids, I got Skater Boy. It's kids don't know Skater Boy anymore. Why can't they play something current? Where's the Miley Cyrus? How am I supposed to get 12-year-olds in my van?
See, I would make fun of Leon for like having the rape mobile and playing that music, but no, I've ridden with him in his car before. He listens to two things. He listens to the old detective shit, like old detective serials on his satellite radio station.
And Howard Stern.
And Howard, maybe three, yes. And Howard Stern is the third one. And in the middle of that, he switches to like some Radio Disney type station. He'll ride around like he's basing some hardcore rap or some shit. He'll have his elbow hanging out the window with some fucking Jonas Brothers playing. And I was like, I'm ducking down in the seat so nobody sees me.
What are we listening to? This is the fat new Justin Bieber track.
That's that kid I'm trying to think of. And you know what? Martin's got 3 copies of that right now, and he's hoping to get 2 of them signed. I ducked down in the seat hoping that people would think I'm at least his child if I can't go all the way down. So yeah.
Watch your phrasing there, Bubba.
Hey, no, if we gotta listen to that crazy Disney shit, then I want to duck down the seat low enough so people see the top of my head. If I can't go down the seat low enough, and maybe people think like, hey, I'm his son, and he's listening to the music with his son, and I don't want to be too grown.
Maybe they're thinking 2 grown-ass mans are driving around listening to Radio Disney while one is blowing the other.
2 grown-ass black men, and people are thinking, which one is giving the hand job to the other guy?
The one who's slumped down in the seat is what I'm thinking.
Well, hopefully
I would sit right the fuck up.
No. Believe me.
Here's my hands. We're all good.
That goes to show you which one would I rather have people think. Would I have people think that I'm driving around listening to Radio Disney, bumping that shit with the bass going, or would I have people thinking that I'm blowing Leon? I would rather have people think I'm blowing Leon than I'm really listening to that shit. Give it a choice.
I guess that's kind of true.
Believe me.
At this point, we're like, "Oh, you're so crazy, Corey." It's like, no, actually, I think he thinks that's true.
No. Believe you have to be there, and you would feel the same if given the choice. All right, man. Hey, you know what? So, how was your weekend before World War? You know what I did. How was yours?
My weekend was good. Is really lax, hanging out with friends. Since you canceled last night, I just cuddled in bed and watched a bunch of movies with my wife.
Nice.
We were really kind of feeling like hanging out at home, and so it's like, hey, cool, let's hit up streaming and watch some Netflix. And so we watched a bunch of romantic films, and it was great.
Nice, very nice. Well, I, again, apologize for not getting in touch with you. I have to admit that there was a moment where I didn't think I was going to make it to the show because I was working a lot and I didn't really have a ticket. I was promised a ticket, so I didn't pay for it. I was going to be given a ticket, and it came through. People complained this whole trip because we were at a nice resort. I mean, just fucking, if you don't want to leave. It's so nice, and you're sitting out. Man, it was like 5 people to a room, so don't think we like big money rolling or anything. We had to split the cost between this expensive ass room, and it still came out a little more than it should have. But nevertheless, people complaining like I sat by the pool. I got drunk a few times. I got so drunk, even one person said I came in the bathroom and saw that you were standing in the mirror talking to yourself. I was like, seriously? And they're like, yeah, I was about to leave. Because
oh, you've done that. Yeah, I've seen that before.
Oh, you seen me do that?
Oh, well, yeah, I've seen you go a step further. I remember the time we were all out at Brian Brushwood's River House, and you got so hammered that you stayed in the hot tub for an hour and a half after everyone went to bed, and you were still talking.
Well, obviously nobody sees my invisible elfin friend that's around.
No, we sure don't, and we can't hear him either because all we hear is your loud black ass talking at the top of your lungs.
I did not know that I did that, and I was like, really? Well, I'm getting it from 2 people, so.
Oh yeah, no. In fact, you could ask Leon, and I think Cyrus was out for that trip too. That was a crazy night. Then of course we heard you come to bed because you came into the guest house, and we just heard the toilet lid kind of slam up, and then.
Oh, now that I remember. I remember that I do remember, and I remember hearing it from everybody in the morning. Cause that night I kept yelling for some reason. I kept yelling when I was drunk. I'm God.
Well, yeah, you were doing that during the karaoke. Yeah, it was.
Oh,
You were taking the mic away from people, going, "I'm God, bitch.
Yeah.
I'll be singing this song now."
Motherfucker, cause I'm God. Yeah, why you take the mic away? Cause I'm God, motherfucker. It's from that black preacher, that crazy ass guy. And I went that night when I got sick. I tried to go to the bathroom, and I walked. I will admit how drunk to you I am. I could not find the bathroom. I went to the closet first. And I was about to throw up, and I was like, "Shit, why is it so soft in here?" And I realized it was like
Why
coats
is it
and
so
stuff.
soft?
It was like coats and clothes, and I was like, "This is obviously not the bathroom. It's supposed to be all hard and porcelain." So I was like, "Oh shit, I'm in somebody's closet. I'm about to throw up in someone's shoes." So I ran out of there and ran to the bathroom, and it all ended well. So, yeah, apparently I get drunk and talk to my invisible friends that apparently nobody sees. They're there, trust me. Oh, speaking of friends, at any moment you might hear my buddy Kevin come in and give me a hard time. So in fact, I think he's here right now. Maybe, I don't know. So if you hear something in the background, and I stopped this podcast early, it's because of him. But anyway, you want to get into the
Top 5.
There you go.
Brought to you by Spill.
there it is. There you go. All right, man. So let's go to number 5. Sing us in.
Well, let's do the. Of all the weeks for this to happen,
Uh-huh.
I am so glad we're doing this a day late.
I know exactly why, because I thought the same thing. Because for one thing, the news that we're about to talk about was brought up by our parent site, Hollywood.com. It was mentioned everywhere, and I know what you're talking about. I'll let you
Yeah,
talk
because
about
I
it
was
when we get to it.
there were some, and the thing is I looked at the numbers last night and I said, this isn't right. This isn't how this is going to go down. I guarantee you tomorrow it changes, but the story all night tonight and all day tomorrow is going to be that something else was number 1. So we had a big kind of shakeup tonight. So
Yes.
we'll go and we'll talk about that. But first, number 5.
That really tugged at my heartstrings. That felt sincere right there. I love that. I think that was your best performance yet. Oh, and here he is. How you doing, man? You mad? What's wrong? Oh, okay. I'm just doing this podcast and then we'll be ready to go. All right. Probably about 30 minutes. I knew it. See, that's why I was scared to say anything. Carlisle, I'm sorry. I told you it was going to happen. The moment I got on this fucking mic, I knew he was going to walk in. I said, man, let me finish my podcast, please. All right. Number 5 is Clash of the Titans.
The Tetons.
Yes, that has been around for 3 weeks in the top 5. This weekend, it brought in $15.4 million, bringing its total up to $132.6. The movie cost $125 to make, so not doing so bad.
No, especially not when you consider the worldwide numbers. It's a hit.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it was also a really bad representation of 3D, but I think we've kind of beaten this one to death.
Well, we've beaten it to death, but apparently, judging from these numbers and from a lot of people I've talked to, really hasn't made that much of a difference. People don't care about 3D that much as long as they get a bunch of special effects and action, and even if it's the same old shit you've seen before. Anyway, let's go up to number 4.
The number 4 film.
We have 2 new entries this week. This is one of them. And this one at number 4 would be Death at a Funeral, a British remake of a movie of the same name, this time made with a bunch of black people, although keeping the same white midget, Peter Dinklage. And this movie brought in $16.2 million, and its budget was 21, so it might leave the top 5 next week, but it still stands a chance of making a profit there. Not bad. A lot of people love to see a lot of their favorite black people in one movie, such as Chris Rock, Martin Lawrence, some other black folk in there. I think those are 2 main ones, though.
Well, we didn't get a chance to talk about this. What did you guys end up thinking about this movie?
I I kind of thought it was like the last film, even though they put a bunch of black people in there. I even think Denzel Washington played a plant in this movie somewhere. They had so many black people in this movie. I think that didn't matter. You think that would have a different sensibility, a different kind of cultural humor, and in a way it did. But it was the same movie as the British film, almost note for note. And I wasn't crazy about that British film, but I didn't hate it. And hey, because this was almost the same thing, felt the same thing about this one. Not good at all. In fact, most of it's bad, but there were some parts in there where I sincerely did laugh. I got a good chuckle. So I gave the movie rental. What did you think?
Yeah, I'm in the high rental category with that. I liked parts of it. There's parts of it I liked. What I really liked about it though was I liked the fact that it wasn't a black film. That despite having a black cast, it was the American remake of the British film.
Mm-hmm.
That it wasn't the black remake, so it wasn't. They didn't feel the need to demean the black culture in any way, which I feel a lot of these do. Anytime you have make a white remake of this or a black remake of that, it feels like they have to change certain things culturally to try to appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, they just took a bunch of really good actors who most of whom happen to be black and put them in the film. And they diffused every single possible racial time bomb in the movie. There's one race joke in the whole movie, and it's actually funny.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's a good point you bring up, because I know in our review we mentioned that we thought that Tracy Morgan was going to be a little more buffoonish than he was in this film, and he was not. I mean, you're right. I mean, there was not a whole lot of really hard black humor in here, and it wasn't even silly humor for the most part. It was the same kind of humor you saw with the white cast. So I agree with you. That was a great point you brought up.
Yeah, it's there were some really funny moments. But I love James Marsden in it. I thought he was hilarious.
No, see, that's where I disagree with you on.
Oh,
man.
really?
Yeah, because I
James
thought,
Marsden?
oh Jesus, hold on, I don't know what happened. Some music just popped up. I know, I like James Marsden, but I did not like him in this movie because I thought that he was hamming it up a little bit. Not by his fault. I thought the director just said, hey, go out there and do what you want to do, and just ad lib being high and crazy, and we'll film it. And I thought they went a little overboard with it. That wasn't me though. I mean, I like James Marsden though.
Yeah, I thought he was funny, but then again, I like that they were being funny and over the top with it because it really was that kind of a movie to begin with, and I thought it was a nice break from some of the other scenes.
The thing I saw weird, and this isn't even me. Every one of us, and you know what? I got to get your opinion on this. Did you find it weird that Zoe Saldana in the movie only dated white guys?
No, it wasn't weird. It was really essential. That was actually one of the things I liked. Was not just because I happen to be a white guy and Zoe Saldana happens to be one of the most gorgeous women on the face of the planet.
And you would think hey, I got a chance with her.
That's immaterial. No, the whole reason they did that was because Ron Glass, who plays her dad, hates him and absolutely just hates the guy. And they felt the need to establish that he doesn't hate him because she's dating a white guy. He has no problem with that. He just hates this particular white guy.
Because Luke Wilson was in the movie also,
right,
as an ex-boyfriend.
As the ex-boyfriend. And because they cast a white guy to play the boyfriend of Zoe Saldana, they balanced it out and completely defused that whole issue. Because the first time they're sitting in the car, and she's like, look, your dad hates me. The first thing that goes to your mind is, oh, God, he's one of those dads who doesn't want his daughter dating someone from another race. And then the minute you find out that he's all about her dating this douchebag played by Luke Wilson, it's like, oh shit, no, he just doesn't like him.
Straight.
Yeah. And that was the whole reason they did that, was just so that there were no racial issues in this film at all. And I think that was an interesting choice on Neil LaBute's part, was to completely and utterly defuse everything.
Man.
Like the only racial comment in the entire film is that whole thing where like, you just found out blank, 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 and you're upset because he's white. and it's like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah, man, we could. I like you, and I like what your arguments here. I really do. I see what you're saying. That's very interesting. I mean, you and I could debate this all day because I feel like there was a race thing there. It wasn't as subtle as they thought it would be, but I see what you're saying there, and I didn't look at it like that before. Interesting point. But yeah, I didn't think the movie was bad. I thought the movie would work very well on DVD. So you want to go?
But it got its butt kicked by the number 3 film.
Yeah, but barely. Number 3 is Date Night, which came in at about $500,000 more. This movie brought in $16.7 million this weekend. It's been out for 2 weeks now. So far, its tally is $48.7 million. The movie cost $55 million to make. So Tina Fey and the 40-year-old virgin, what the hell is that guy's name?
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell. The pairing of them together is pretty entertaining for a lot of folks. The movie stands to make a profit also if it stays in the top 5, which it could. Nothing real strong coming out that could really challenge it, I don't think.
Well, this is one of those situations. This is why you are always very mindful of where you put your comedies or where you put any kind of film. Because this is, personally, between the two films, if I had to watch one again, I would watch Death at a Funeral.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was much more interesting and much more entertaining than Date Night. Date Night had me chuckle a couple times, but Death at a Funeral made me laugh out loud a couple of times. And there are actors I enjoy spending more time with in Death at a Funeral, much more than I do watching Steve Carell and Tina Fey. Like, I'd watch Ron Glass all day, and just the fact that they gave him a cool role in that movie, I was like, hell yeah, I'm down.
Now, Ron Glass, you talking about Death and the Funeral?
Yeah.
Now, Ron Glass, was he the father?
Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out that guy's name because I was like, well, of course he doesn't have a race issue. That guy's practically white himself. Oh, hello, my daughter. How are you?
Well, keep in mind, I mean, this is the guy who geeks know him best from Serenity. You'll know him best as from Barney Miller.
From Barney Miller, that's right. And he had a short-lived series called Snoops on CBS.
Oh, yeah.
Very short-lived. Like, I think it lasted half a show. They took off. So.
See, I love Ron Glass. I love Danny Glover. I love Zoe Saldana. And I'm a big stand-up fan. So in the 90s, I was watching lots of Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, that was one of the interesting things I found about the film was the fact that if you notice career-wise in the movie, Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence are kind of put in the same stature as their comedy is.
Yeah, in the movie they're both one's a wannabe writer and one's a writer, but in real life they're both comedians. So.
Well, but the thing is one of the Chris Rock is working on his brilliant novel and is painstakingly working on this intelligent thing, and his brother Martin Lawrence writes this dirty, smutty stuff that is just populist crap.
Yeah,
and that everybody knows is crap, but people like anyway, and that's very much their comedy, because Chris Rock is like this brilliant social comic, and Martin Lawrence made a lot of dick jokes.
Man, boy, you are deep with this shit, aren't you? You love this movie, Death and the Funeral. You should give that full price.
No, it's not that I love it. It's that I spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Yeah.
There was so much talent involved in this that it was just an interesting project conceptually. I think there are things that go wrong with it. I think those things come from the original script. There's a bit of bathroom humor in there that they dress up in this one and make it raunchier, but was still in the original.
Yeah.
And I think is the type of joke you don't need in this kind of movie.
Man, that's an interesting take on Date Night and Death and a Funeral, because Death and a Funeral is a movie that it's easy for you to turn your nose up at if you really just don't like these kind of films. I mean, if you see like a black cast and you see all the humor that they have in there, it's easy to assume that it's just going to be silly. I thought it was silly, but not as you say, racially silly. And you say Date Night was just kind of, I didn't see Date Night. You just said that was just kind of boring. So
it was, everyone in it was funny, but the plot was so by the numbers, which is what works in Death at a Funeral, is that there's a lot of unpredictability in Death at a Funeral. I mean, just things come out of the woodwork and get crazy, and you're interested the whole time, where in Date Night, you can set your watch to this movie. I mean, I've said that before, but I mean, literally, every plot twist in this film before it happens. So it's just watching these new characters go through it.
Gotcha.
And ultimately, the jokes are better at Death at a Funeral. So I was really sad to see this kind of step on Death at a Funeral, because I really think Death at a Funeral is the better film.
Well, let's see if the top 2 movies are even better films than that. Let's go with number 2.
Are you ready for number 2? The Gorillas sing better than you.
Hey, look at that. I thought you were doing a little take on that. Hey, you're no gorillas, but hey.
I'm no I know anybody.
You're no gorillas. You're a little Reese's monkey instead of that, but I'll take what I can get at this point. Let's see.
Little
We got
Reese's monkey.
little No, I didn't say racist monkey. Obviously not.
I said Reese's, not racist.
Obviously, you're a little racist monkey. No wonder you like Death in the Funeral. You love all that black foolishness. No, let's see. Number 2 is How to Train Your Dragon.
That's
which
right.
has been in the top 5 for about a month. It's been joined like number 2 and number 3. I think last week it was in the number 3 spot. Gone back up to number 2. And this week it pulled in $19.7 million. You all right? Sound like you fell over. Hello?
Hey.
Oh, okay. I thought you fell. I really didn't. I thought you like hit your head and like knocked yourself out. Like, hello?
I'm in a coma right now.
Okay.
I'm just winging it.
Well, as long as you can keep up, you can be in a coma or whatever. You can be bleeding, but as long as you and I can interact, that's good. I'm impressed. The total gross on the film, what?
I was about to say, yeah, Cyrus has been dead since 2007, but he keeps the jokes coming.
Okay, I thought he just smelled like shit because he just never washed and bathed his arms, but he's dead. Okay, thank you for explaining that. The total gross on How to Train Your Dragon is $158.3 million. The budget on that film is $165, so DreamWorks seems to have another hit on his hand with another CG animated film. This is one of the better ones, I believe. So I'm glad to see it doing well.
Yeah, it's good, especially compared to some of the other DreamWorks films. Yeah, it's doing really well. Although this is where things got twitchy is last night they reported that it made $20 million, and they overreported it by a couple $100,000, giving it the number 1 spot. Over what the number 1 film was. And I looked at it, I'm like, $20 million. No, I'm not only going to think that it made lower than that, but I think they fudged that number so that all the early reporting, and this is one of the problems we have, is now that the estimates come out on late Sunday afternoon, and they're just the studio estimates, everybody races to have the first article up. And within a few hours, everybody's reporting who won the weekend. But we still don't know the actuals yet, and it's very rare that anyone ever corrects the actuals the next day. And we've seen some infamous occasions of this happening. I remember a few summers ago, Warner Brothers kept over-reporting Speed Racer every week. And every week it would be corrected, and they would actually change places with the film that was immediately behind it, which was What Happens in Vegas, the Ashton Kutcher film.
Yeah.
And with that film actually did better than Speed Racer every weekend. It beat it every single week, but you'd never know it because they kept over-reporting on Speed Racer. Well, this happened here, and so yesterday was just filled with, oh, look what failed. This film was supposed to be really big, and I guess it's not as cool as everybody said it was. And several of us are just looking at it going, I don't know, this looks a little fishy. And sure enough, it flipped, giving us tonight's number 1 film.
Why don't you tell us what that is?
Kick-Ass!
Yes, the number 1 film is Kick-Ass, and you were right. It was reported that this movie was number 2 as of last night. Today, it is number 1 with $19.8 million, and that is what it debuted with. The budget for this was $30 million, so we'll see what happens. There was a lot of controversy about the film, too, and some of the stuff I was thinking about. I was wondering how hard of a pitch this movie would be, where they would have kids in a film that are highlighted in the trailers and in the commercials, but kids can't really go see the film. Well, it didn't matter because it appealed to adults enough to make $19.8 million. They're still saying that this isn't the money they expected it to make, but they're hoping that word of mouth for the film will give it a little bit of legs and keep it going.
This is one of the films. The people that love this movie love the hell out of it. I know people who've seen it 4 times already. And this is one of those films that's going to do really well on DVD. It's going to, at being Lionsgate, they'll be able to put out 2 or 3 different editions of it. It will make its money back and then some, and it will continue to be a moneymaker throughout history. I mean, the thing about this film that you really need to take into account is that Matthew Vaughn self-produced this. He put all the money up himself. He's independently wealthy, which is how he managed to become a producer.
He doesn't mind telling you that, too.
No, and he doesn't, because he's really proud of it. and it's his, and he took that money and he turned it into a really awesome movie that people dig the hell out of. And so there aren't 20 different pieces of the pie that this money has to get distributed to. This money goes to Lionsgate and to him. And that's it.
Yeah, it was passed over by a number of studios until Lionsgate picked it up and decided to distribute it. Matthew Vaughn. Now, if you listen to Matthew Vaughn, I don't know how much is exaggerated, but he once described this as the world's most expensive home movie and didn't know how he was going to get it distributed. He just said, hey, I had the money to make it. I don't have to ever work in my life again. So I will just go out and make this movie that nobody wants to take a chance with. And even in the middle of the producing of the film, and the production could not find a distributor. But Lionsgate took a chance on it. And yeah, I guess since most of it, you're right, since most of it is his money and whatever money Lionsgate put in for producing, which is $30 million, I guess they stand a chance to make a little chunk of change there.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely, especially if this keeps going. Now, word of mouth, it may not be number one again. In fact, I'm willing to bet it's not going to be, but I think it's going to hang around for several weeks as geeks continue to go see it and as people get turned on to it and certain people try to find out what the controversy is all about. Because the people who hate this movie really hate it.
See, I don't hate it, but I will say something here. And it was in the review, I did say I had a problem with the film. And I didn't want to say what it was because it had to do with the ending of the film. I guess I can go ahead and say it now since the movie's out and people have seen it, and you can walk away right now if you have not seen it.
Yeah, you know what? We'll talk about this for 5 minutes. So if you have a problem with spoilers, go ahead, and we're giving you your chance right now.
All right, you ready? Okay.
I'm ready. Tell me, what's your deal, man?
Okay, so I had no problem with the girl in the film. That's the controversy right now. That a lot of people have even gone as far as to say, I know there was an article in the New York Times that said that violence is the new child pornography now, because in the film they have Hit Girl who does a lot of violent acts. I had no problem with that. It's a movie. It's a character. I don't think anybody's going to go out and train a girl to like kill people, or children are going to like be influenced to do this either. The movie's been out in London for a long time, and before it came into the States, there was no big controversy there about it. So my problem with the film, though, is like the girl is psychotic. The girl is crazy, all right? I mean, and I thought they could have handled that a little bit better at the film instead of just releasing her into society and sending her to school, and once she has a quote-unquote normal life and just glossing over that whole psychotic aspect of her life. I thought they should have touched on that a little bit. That was my problem with the film, and that's at the very ending of the film.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, because it is. I can see why people are like, I want to say an uproar, but why people this is a sticking point with them, why they have some concern with it, or why they are offended by it. Because the girl, there is no resolution for that psychotic side of her, and I think they at least sort of closed out by doing something with that.
Well, I know that they're looking at there's a sequel in the works for the comic book, and that Matthew Vaughn would like to make a sequel to the film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I also can say that the ending to the movie is different than the ending to the comic book.
Yeah.
That drastically different, because the comic book has a real downer of an ending. I mean, it's just like, oh, fuck me. And they do a really good job of cleaning that up here and making this the satire that it is. And I think it's really well done. But I'm not convinced at all that she returned to normalcy. I am of the opinion that she is doing what she's very good at, which is playing pretend. And that she is pretending to be normal, because we don't. I mean, she has that moment at the very end where the guys come up and they're like, "Hey, it's you've got to pay the bully tax."
Yeah.
And they just cut away as you hear them screaming. No, she's still psychotic, and she's not even close to normal. And I think she is, that we're going to continue to watch her character kind of possibly devolve over time as she goes from being the crazy 11-year-old girl to being the crazy teenage girl riddled with hormones.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Now, in my mind, I'm making all these assumptions on my own. Like, I'm even thinking how that scene played out. Like, they pulled away. You don't see what she does to those bullies at the end of the movie. I'm thinking, like, they're down on the ground with compound fractures, with bones sticking out of the arms and everything, and she just went a little bit too far. And, this is what I'm feeling in my mind. But, that's not... I don't think you should have to do that with a movie, to have that uncertainty there, especially when the movie just seems to say, oh, everything wrapped up okay. But knowing that there's a sequel, I know Cyrus told me that they're working on that, and I hope that that is something that they do touch on. So I'm able to forgive that if they actually explore that a little bit more. So yeah, that's why it was not that huge of a deal to me. I think people are gonna like talk about this for a little while and they'll forget about it like everything else. It's not that big of a fucking deal. Unless we have another school shooting in the next week, and then they'll say, "See, kick ass, you see."
Well, I mean, I have a lot of problems with the complaints that are going around. I mean, my main issue with Roger Ebert and his complaint about the violence and what if kids see it is you go back and read his review for RoboCop,
which had a kid drug dealer. Hello? Hello? Wait a minute. Hold on. You went out for a second there. Hello? Oh, no. Carlisle. No. No. Tell me you didn't go. All right. More people are here at the house. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because the internet line is being used up more, but we'll see if we can get through this. Now, where you cut off is that you had a problem with Roger Ebert and him not having any complaints about RoboCop being marketed to kids because of all the toys and animated shows and whatnot, but he has a problem with this movie.
Yeah, and ultimately, I just think, I mean, I'm getting that feeling that this is he's finally kind of crossed into the social irrelevance portion of his career, where he's so out of touch with everyone else and so out of touch with the younger version of himself that he's forgotten a lot of that connection. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest problem here. I'm really surprised by some of the people who have come out against this film for the reasons of being morally reprehensible, because it's so clearly satire and they know it. They just don't appreciate the satire. And I have a problem with calling something morally reprehensible when you know that it's being satirical on one thing or another. If you don't grok it, that's fine. But just, I mean, it's easy to shrug it off and say, look, it's bad, or I didn't like it, or the one complaint that I hear that I think is somewhat justified is that it spends so much time becoming what it's satirizing that it kind of the satire gets lost in the shuffle.
That was my complaint right there. That's what I said in the review too. I said it starts out as one thing and then it ends up being the thing that is making fun of.
But that's RoboCop as well. I mean, that's exactly how RoboCop is. I mean, that's this very specific type of satire tends to become that way because you get an audience in that doesn't get that it's satire and buys it as what it's making fun of.
Well, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I would also argue that people, I mean, they probably wouldn't have an issue with this film, first of all, if it wasn't a little girl. I mean, people are really riled up that it's a little girl who are doing this. I would even say that if it was a little boy, they probably wouldn't be as offended. But the fact that it's an 11-year-old girl, that kind of makes people feel uncomfortable. And it's kind of like what people did in the 30s, what the was it the Hays Commission, I believe, that came in and argued that, okay, you know what, people are really disturbed by these gangster films at the time, and we got to put in a mandate that says in every gangster movie right now, the gangster has to get his comeuppance, or he has to be punished. Well, they don't need to see this little girl be punished in this movie, but I think a lot of people are feeling like I do, but probably just more taken aback by it. I think that they don't see any kind of resolution with this little girl that either punishes her or comes in and talks about her being a killer, and they just see her go along her way. And for them, they see that as a dismissal. And they see that, okay, this movie is okay with betraying kids as killers and almost encouraging it because it's fun and it's cool. And while I don't think it's gone to that level, I understand where people are coming from. I still think it's going to be something that's going to blow over. And as you said, it is a satire. And I don't know, people just, it's something that need to pick on right now. And this is the latest thing.
Yep.
Well,
so what do you say we do a couple of quick questions before you skedaddle?
Before I hang up on you again so rudely?
Well, I guess we're not going to do the DVD podcast this week then?
No, and I was going to say, I thought I said 2 weeks last week, but either way it goes, I need to get the art ready for that, and I need to be able to, that's pretty much it. Just have the art ready for the carousel. So next week, I think that's when we'll pick it up. Like this coming Sunday.
Yeah, I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this is the perfect week to start because it's like the biggest DVD week of this season. I mean, tomorrow is huge. There's so much stuff coming out.
Well, we'll make it for next week. You know what? Did you pick up a name though? I was gonna let you do that. Did you pick a name out of all those names people submitted?
You know
week?
what? I was gonna see what you liked, but I found somebody suggested one to me yesterday that I particularly liked. Finally,
what was it?
Blue Tuesday.
I like that. You know, the only thing with that is like, let's just say when we're doing this podcast and we're 60-something years old and Blu-rays have gone away and they've gone to something else. What would we call it then? What are we going to do with Blue Tuesday?
Well, the new listeners will be like, why is it called Blue Tuesday? Oh, yeah, remember when they used to have Blu-rays? It'd be just like, imagine if there was a radio show called 8-Track Sunday. It's like, what's an 8-track? Well, let me explain that to you. So
okay. Hey, look, I'm fine. I'll be honest with you. And again, this is between you and me. Don't tell people out there. I didn't really look at that many of them because I got so busy and I didn't have a chance to go through. I was going to go through.
I looked at a lot of them. There were some that I kind of liked, but nothing really spoke to me. And then when Blue Tuesday hit, it's like, oh, that's kind of perfect.
You know what? I have no problem with Blue Tuesday, but right now, people, you have another week. So if you want to
one more week till Blue Tuesday premieres.
So if you think you have something better than Blue Tuesday, then feel free to submit. And I'll go back and look at the old ones and look at this one. But I'm easy, man. I'm leaving it up to you, really, if you want to pick something. Whatever stands out to you, I'm fine. I'm all right.
Well, let me just throw this in real quick. I noticed there's something coming out on Blu-ray tomorrow. Amid all the great things that you may be at the store picking up or you may be ordering online, because Avatar comes out tomorrow, and just tons of really great stuff. Crazy Heart comes out, Lovely Bones, Minority Report. But what also comes out tomorrow is Fist of Legend on Blu-ray. Are you familiar with this, Corey?
Yes, I am. I thought that was already out.
Not on Blu-ray.
Oh, on Bluray. Okay, I'm sorry. Of course, Tuesday.
This is my favorite Jet Li movie of all time. I adore this film. It is a remake of Bruce Lee's 1972 Fists of Fury. And it is just, there is so much badass ass beating in this movie that if you have not seen Jet Li's Fist of Legend, if you like Jet Li or if you've ever wondered what the deal with Jet Li is, Fist of Legend is the one to check out. It comes out tomorrow on Blu-ray. Apparently you can get it on Amazon for $12.50. Do so. It's fucking awesome. It is one of my favorite martial arts films ever.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that was out on Blu-ray, and that's probably one I will get because I'm loving watching these old movies on Blu-ray. I bought Bullet because it was cheap when I was over at Best Buy.
Oh, how good does that look?
Man, it looks good. It looks great. The only problem is when I get a lot of these old movies, my television, I have a Samsung, it wants to do this thing with the motion blur or the motion effects on the TV, and so it looks like it's shot on video. And it's supposed to be something that's supposed to make the clarity better. And I always have to go in, every time I pop in a different Blu-ray, I have to go in and set that setting. And at first I was like, man, Bullet looks like shit. And then I went and adjusted that, and I was like, wow, this is awesome, man. So, yeah, I'm loving watching old movies on Blu-ray. They look very nice. But you want to go ahead and get into some tweets and emails?
Yeah, let's get some really quick ones out of the way. Here's from Podcast Fanboy. Did you guys forget about Thirst during your top films of 2009 show? It got no love, not even an honorable mention.
Well, then we didn't like it that much to put it in our top 10.
So. I really like Thirst, but it was not in my top 10. Last year was such a great year. There were so many films that got cut from my top 10, and Thirst was sadly one of them. I mean, Thirst definitely deserved an honorable mention, but it did have its flaws. It has the typical Chan-wook Park flaws, which it was about 15 minutes too long, and it really could have used a trim.
I agree with you there. It was a little too long, and I liked the movie too. Didn't stand out to me as something that was in my top 10. It just got pushed aside. I think it was even floating up there when we were putting stuff together because I know when we were talking about it, it was like, oh, yeah, there's this movie, there's that movie. Oh, yeah, and Thirst. Oh, yeah, we really like that. Okay, now let's adjust things, do a shuffle, and it got put out. So that's just simply what happened. Sorry.
Yep. Well, here's a question for you. Level 1 Alt asks, not sure if it's too late, blah, 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 blah. Okay, will the Spill site be iPhone, iPad compatible in the near future?
I am hoping that it will be because we right now are working with a player that is strictly Flash based, and that's the Ning player. but we're switching players that is going to be capable of doing high definition. And part of that, being able to display high definition video now, will also be the ability to have it in different formats, which means it will have the format of H.264 or any other codec that will fit for the Apple required codec. Which, hey, look, I think this whole thing with Apple not having the ability to do Flash is bullshit, and
Yeah.
I agree with you when you said that they're doing that because they want to keep everything locked in so that you buy everything from Apple, which is why the iPad is one of the things that is making me say, all right, if Apple goes down this road, I am not going to be as much of an Apple consumer as I was before, because I love Apple. I mean, but I buy Apple because it suits the things that I do for my job. And the moment Apple does not suit that, then, hey, you know what? I might have to look at some other alternatives, and Apple's doing it. But, hey, you know what? We're going off on a tangent here. Yeah, yes, to answer your question, just today we were looking at some examples of high definition, and hopefully if we don't have the...
Hey.
God damn it. I'm
Don't worry.
sorry.
Well, no problem. We will wrap this. Believe me, I totally understand the situation. You're not upsetting me at all.
Okay, and I would just close out. I saw where it cut off. Hopefully we'll have some kind of codec that will fit on any kind of Apple-related player or product. So we'll see where that goes, and we'll be able to satisfy everybody. All right, you want to read an email here real quick?
Sure.
All right, I haven't read this ahead of time, but...
And I have one more for you after you're done. So.
Oh, go ahead then, please.
Oh, well, this is from Santos.
My buddy
boy
Santos.
Santos asks, what movie can you never get tired of?
Training Day.
Any day. Mine is The Shawshank Redemption. I can watch that movie forever. It was literally something that back in the video store I would put on and I would just loop for hours, and I'll occasionally have in my DVD player here and just listen to it. There's just something about just the melodic nature of that film and the voiceover and just the performances and just what a perfect film it is. I could never, ever get tired of that film.
Nice. Very nice. And I would also throw in there for me Quentin Tarantino's two films, Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown. Really love Jackie Brown. I think that's his best film. Love that movie. And Shawshank Redemption is really good, man. Every time I see that on, TBS, I have to watch it. That's a good one. All right, let's see what we have here. Oh, this is from Geoff, or Jeff. It's spelled Geof, so
That's Jeff.
take your pick.
Geoff.
One of the Geoff, I know. I was looking at it earlier, and I was like, hey, it looked like Geoff to me at first. I like that better. I'm gonna call him Geoff. He says,
Motherfucker named him if his mother named him Geoff, I'm gonna call him Geoff.
his alien mama named him Geoff. I'm gonna call him Geoff. Geoff. One of the few movies that shut me the fuck up as a kid was The Adventures of Mark Twain, which was done in stop motion. I recently had the chance to watch it again. It was as good as I remember. I'm old enough to appreciate it now. He's 25 and thought it was incredibly well done. Are there any movies you have rewatched after so many years that have given you a new appreciation for them? And as for stop motion, is there anything else out there that you can recommend? Yeah, watch Fantastic Mr. Fox if you haven't seen that yet. What about you? Are there any movies that you fondly remember and then when you watch them later? And I guess what he's saying here, the point is that these weren't really mainstream movies. These are probably like little low-key films that you happen to catch as a kid, maybe on HBO or something, and then you watch it later thinking like, oh, that movie can't possibly be as good. And then you watch it and you're like, yeah, that movie is better.
You know, there's a whole series of them, but there a lot of them are things that are considered classics now.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that I grew up with. I mean, I grew up watching things like The Thing and RoboCop and Ghostbusters and Gremlins and loving them as a kid and just absolutely adoring them. But they weren't my favorite films because there was always something I liked a little better. You know, Die Hard was really awesome when I was a kid, but you know what? Bruce Willis was no Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
And then you grow up and you sit down and you watch these films again and you realize how eloquent and how elegant and how brilliant all of these films are in their own right, that they far surpass anything else at the time. And they are, you know, so many of us have kind of embraced them as classics. Tron is another one. In fact, a lot of the stuff from 1982 that got written off that are now considered geek classics, things like Conan the Barbarian and The Secret of Nim. I loved The Secret of Nim when I was a kid, and you grow up and you watch it and you're like, wow, this is so dark and terrifying and brilliantly constructed. So there's a lot of those. And I would say most of the stuff that people talk about coming out in the 80s, it was just such a great era for very high-minded family entertainment. It was cool for big-time and talented directors to make family films, which is not cool anymore. So we don't get to see stuff like this. That's what was so neat about seeing The Fantastic Mr. Fox, which you just mentioned, was seeing a brilliant director tackle something like that. So,
yeah, no, that was a really good point with The Secret of Nim, because it is a children's film, but you don't realize how dark it is. And I'm like you, I have a whole series of films like that. I can't just name one, because there's a lot of films that I saw as a kid where I look at them later and I have a greater appreciation for them because I understand them better. Like if I watch hold on, I gotta sneeze. Okay, it's gone. If I watch Snow White or Pinocchio, as a kid I watched them and I was like, okay, this was cool. I was a kid. It was a lot of colors on the screen and it was funny animals talking and whatnot. But growing up, you realize the technical aspect that went behind those films. You realize the historical, the historical impact that it had, and you just have a great appreciation of those films. You hear people say something like Citizen Kane is one of the greatest movies ever, and you look at it and you're like, no, it's not. And then you realize the history behind the film, and you're thinking like, wow, okay, if you take it in context, it is one of the greatest, maybe not the greatest, but one of the greatest movies ever made. If you look at some other films that were just kind of small films and they didn't get the appreciation you think they deserve, you look at them later and realize, wow, it really did deserve a little bit more. I remember watching the remake of The Blob as a kid and like watching it again and thinking like, man, this is a really underrated film. I mean,
it really holds up.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And I was like, the effects in here trump the first film, because the first film is, look, it's really not that great of a film if you look at it. It's a piece of jello crawling around and killing people, and it's kind of silly when you think about it. But when you watch the Blob, they give you a reason to be scared of this alien organism, and it's horrifying, the effects in that film. And yeah, so I mean, look, we can go all night talking about why we think certain films are better when we see them, are just as good. But there are a few examples from both of us right there. So
yeah.
Tell you one thing that's horrifying, and we better get out of here from, is this phone line that I'm using, because it keeps cutting us off.
Yeah, good luck constructing those 5 or 6 segments together in 1 hour-long podcast.
Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, I got a little puzzle to put together here. But anyway, man, I will talk to you when I get back into town. We actually have to do some recording to give you heads up on a little ad that we have coming up on the site. So I'll let you guys know about that. But until next week, I'll probably either talk to you Sunday, and then maybe next week we'll even see you on Blue Tuesday.
Blue Tuesday, as you know. We'll write a theme song or something.
Yeah, we'll figure out something. And we won't sing it, so don't worry, people.
Good night, everybody.
All right, good night. See ya.